This here is Samantha. She's a female red-tailed hawk. She's about 27 years old. Again, one of our more mature birds here at the show. And as I've mentioned before, a lot of the birds we have are really long-lived. In the wild, the lifespan for a red-tailed hawk is, in a lot of books, listed as about 9 to 12. Some books estimate higher by a couple of years. I think the oldest estimate in print is usually around 19 or 20. But in a captive situation like this, where she has a good diet and the housing is nice and good handlers, the longevity is about 30 years or more. Red-tailed hawks found all over North America, probably the most common bird of prey in the U.S. Oftentimes referred to as a chicken hawk. And they get the name red-tailed hawk because of the red pigment that arrives in the tail feathers when they reach maturity. I'm going to turn her around here. If you look, these red pigmented tail feathers come in around the age of 1 to 2 years. In fact, this time of year is when she molts. So she's actually got some new tail feathers growing in. You see right at the top there, and on my side, the white edges, the tips of those new ones coming down. So she's in mid-molt right now. So she looks a little bit raggedy, but in about 3 to 4 weeks, her molt will be complete and she'll look really sharp. They've got about 7,000 feathers on their body, and typically a molt takes anywhere from a month to 2 months. That's where old feathers drop out and new feathers go in. And they don't molt all at once. They're never naked or lacking feathers completely, but they're not quite as maneuverable while they're molting, so it's a very convenient time of year to molt, because a lot of easy pickings this time of year, a lot of squirrels and rabbits. The foot design, again, the center talon has that sharp cutting edge on it. These feet are very powerful. Somewhere, most of the books estimate their grasping strength is about 200 pounds per square inch of pressure. And that's what subdues their prey. When they go down to grab a hold of a rodent, say a ground squirrel or a rabbit, they get their feet get a hold of it with their feet, usually in the torso or midsection. When they apply that 200 pounds of pressure, it's only about a minute and a half is all it takes for the prey to be subdued. So very strong feet, also very quick reflexes. These birds of prey have phenomenal eyesight. Your eagles and hawks and falcons in general have 2 to 3 times the visual resolution that humans have. So not only do they perceive a 2 to 3 times higher resolution image, but on top of that, their retina has a faster recycle time. They actually process more frames per second than we do. So if you think about it, and especially in terms of in terms of video, a higher resolution image at a faster frame rate is a lot more data. So consequently, it takes a lot more brain power to process that. They estimate that about 70 up to 75% of the brain on a bird like this, 70-75% of the brain is just for visual processing. So they're very visually oriented, but they don't miss much. They've got a nice broad wing. I'm going to give a little bit of a wing spread here. And what you'll see at the red-tailed hawk is they've got not only a long wingspan from tip to tip, but a very wide or broad wing from front to back. And that tail, in fact she's doing it a bit there, tail's flaring out a little bit. You end up all together with a lot of surface area, a very wide wedge-shaped tail, a nice broad rounded wing. All that surface area enables the red-tailed hawk to be very good at circling up and soaring at high altitudes. So it's actually very efficient. Rather than burning a lot of calories flying uphill to gain altitude to hunt, they'll find a nice thermal or updraft. They'll circle 10-15 minutes, get up to about 1,000 to 2,000 feet, out of sight, hopefully out of visual range of a squirrel or a rabbit. But again, they have the very acute vision, so they can very easily scan the ground below, spot a smaller rodent or prey item. When they see something they want, they tuck their wings in real close to their body and drop straight down in a headfirst dive called a stoop. And the stooping speed for the red-tail here is about 100 to 120 miles an hour. In fact, if you're coming down 100 to 120 miles an hour, that more frames per second vision is really important. And last few feet of their dive, they flare their wings out, swing their feet forward, and I grab a hold of the prey with those very strong grasping feet. Red-tailed hawk. And if you ever see one of these birds perch along the freeway, which there's no doubt you probably will, they generally, if they have a lump right here, see that? That's her crop. That's an expanded part of the esophagus where the food will go before it goes to the stomach. When a hawk like Samantha here eats, usually you've got a lump in the crop for about 2 to 3 hours. So if you're ever commuting, you see a red-tailed hawk on a pole along the highway, you notice that bulge right there? That means instead of hunting, they're resting. They're done for the day. That's Samantha, female red-tailed hawk.